So I think there's a bit of a stigma when it comes to introversion and being an introvert. I think it's something that people often can be self-conscious about if they're the more introverted type and they, like to spend more time alone. They get their energy by being alone, engaging in hobbies that are, things that are solo. And I think that society kind of deems this as a little bit weird, or maybe that like there's something wrong with you. You're a little peculiar. And I think that people can often, like I said, they can get very self-conscious about being this way and, just living that kind of more introverted life. However, I think that it's something that you should fully accept and embrace if this is you. So, well, let me give you the definition. There's two definitions of what an introvert actually is that I found. And the first one is the quality of being shy and reticent. Reticent meaning you're more unlikely to share your feelings with other people, which I do agree. I wouldn't say that this is a great definition, but I would say for the most part, this does define an introvert. But then I found a second definition that I liked a lot better. It's the tendency to be concerned with one's own thoughts and feelings rather than with external things. And I think this is very accurate. And this is what Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, I'm pretty sure he's the one who came up with the idea of introversion and extroversion. This is exactly what he said, that introverts tend to have more of like an internal mental point of origin, whereas extroverts are more focused on external things. But I'm pretty sure he also said that it works on more of a spectrum. And it's important to not take this so seriously where it becomes your whole identity and, I can't do that. I'm an introvert. You don't want to become that kind of person. You want to understand that it is more like everything else. It works more on a spectrum, and we're all kind of, you have extroversion on one side, introversion on another, and we're all kind of somewhere in between. Most people lean more towards one side. So it's not to say that the more introverted person can't go out and have fun and be around people and be talkative. It's just that they tend to more so like to spend time alone, and they have a more introverted nature. And the same with the person who's very outgoing, always loves to be around people. It doesn't mean that they never want to be alone. There might be certain situations where they're like, I just need to be by myself, right? So the thing you have to understand about introversion is that I'm definitely an introvert by nature, by the way, but I'm not shy necessarily. I would say I'm fairly sociable. I've always had friends, but I definitely do prefer to just, for the most part, be by myself and just do things that I enjoy. That's just how I am. I've always been like that. And I do wonder, is it natural, like a thing that, is it nature or nurture? Because I did grow up as an only child and my parents were kind of always fighting. So I was always kind of in my room doing my own thing. So I do wonder, like, if I grew up around a big family where we were all really close, a bunch of siblings and stuff like that, would I be different? I would say it's probably a little bit of both, nature versus nurture. I think it's something you're kind of just intuitively born with, and it's just or naturally born with rather, and it's something that just happens due to environmental factors and your upbringing. So the one thing I want to say, if you're suffering or not suffering, if you feel like you're introverted and maybe you struggle with it, and you are jealous of people who you see are more extroverted and you wish you could be more social, you don't have to let introversion hold you back from learning social skills or trying to connect with people. I know it could feel very lonely, and I know it could sometimes make you feel different. It can make you feel like you struggle to connect with others. You struggle to connect with people. You feel like there's something wrong with you. My advice is to just fully accept and embrace this is who you are. And once you can do this, once you can fully just accept that this is who you are, this is this is just part of your biology, so to speak, then you'll get better at actually acquiring more of the extroverted skills. The more, this is what happened with me. Once I just fully said, fuck it, I like being alone, this is who I am, surprisingly enough, people gravitated towards me more. So that's the first thing I want to mention. And now I want to go through a list of some things that I feel are positive attributes, positive things about being an introvert. All right, these are all, I didn't get these from the internet. These are all things that I personally came up with. So number one is you keep it real. You don't have time to have pointless bullshit conversations with people. You don't have time to be fake. You're not going to pretend to be around people that you don't actually like. You may have a little bit of a uniqueness about you that you embrace. It's just who you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. You aren't going to get into relationships or be friends with people who you don't actually like. in my experience, introverts usually are better at just being their natural, genuine self, whereas a more very extroverted person might have like kind of that fake, like think of like a fake salesperson, or the people you see on YouTube and Instagram, all these like business, what's the word, gurus. Those are usually typically going to be more extroverted people, I think. Introverts don't have time for that shit. This is just who we are. The second one is you're generally more intelligent. Introverts actually generally do have higher IQs. So if you look at all of the greats, Einstein, Tesla, Oppenheimer, all of the famous scientists, all of the famous spiritual masters, they were generally all more introverted. Anybody who achieved enlightenment was most likely probably a more introverted person, because it requires you be very self-reflective, and you have to do a lot of contemplating and a lot of complex thinking in order to, make achievements in things like science and spirituality, or any academic, or, just really anything. These types of guys understood what they were interested in, and they embraced it fully. They used their intelligence for something good. So again, that's kind of my opinion, but from what I've seen in my life, I would say introverts typically are more intelligent people. They're more interested in things like, writing, reading, math, science, that kind of stuff. So most people who work in like the, computer science, engineering field, pretty much all introverts. Number 3 is you actually have a sense of mystery. So one of the best things you can do is be like an attractive introvert, because you typically aren't going to have like a sense of neediness that a lot of very outgoing people, because like they're always trying to talk to people, and I'm not necessarily disparaging them. They are who they are, but you're not going to be the type of person who's always trying to cling to people. You're always trying to talk to people. You're cool with just being on your own, and you're comfortable with it. And this could be a very attractive quality in a good way, like a very mysterious kind of thing. So this is why, like, especially for men, like being kind of like that cool kind of mysterious dude who's also good looking, that's like a really good, it will work to your advantage, trust me. So introverts generally tend to have almost like a sense of mystery to them, where people are like, yo, what's that guy's deal? Like, I want to get to know him. But then it can also be, you have to kind of, how can I put this? You also don't want to be too like weird and reclusive, where you don't ever talk to anybody. You're not good at conversation, because then you're going to just kind of seem weird. So mystery is a good thing if done correctly. So embrace the mysteriousness of being more introverted. All right. So number 4 is, I touched on this one a little bit. You're better at reading people. So you'll find yourself less likely to get involved in dumb situations. So I had 2 really close friends, a guy and a girl, and they were both they were like the most extroverted people ever. And what I noticed with them is that they didn't screen people that came into their life. Like, as long as somebody would talk to them, they would become best friends with them like this. They would instantly connect. And what this happens is you're more likely to trust people easily, and you might find yourself in some very dangerous and risky situations. Extroverts are more likely to get in car accidents. They're more likely to get involved in like pyramid schemes and scams, because they're just generally more trusting. Introverts, I feel like, are a little more cautious of who we let into our life. And I think that this is actually a really good thing. Like I said, although it can sometimes feel lonely at times, it's definitely a positive and it's a benefit. You're less likely to get fucked over. You're less likely to be in toxic, abusive relationships, because you typically will just walk away from them, or not really get into them in the first place. Now, I'm making a lot of generalizations and assumptions here, but again, like I said, this is just all my own experience and opinion. And you're also better at noticing like when people are kind of fake, and you can like just smell that shit in an instance. Like, so going back to my 2 friends, like they would just get involved with the weirdest, like just the dumbest people. I'm like, how can you even not see that this person is just not someone you should hang out with? I don't know. They just don't think about it, I guess. I think they just don't think as much. I think introverts think more and extroverts don't. They're kind of just more go with the flow, go with the moment. But yeah, that one's a big one for me. I could tell right away when someone is completely fake, when they're just trying to use you. You also don't want to become too paranoid and, think everybody's like this, but definitely introverts are better at screening people. They're better at reading people. They're better at seeing people's intentions, in my opinion. Okay. The next one is you spend time on the things that are important to you. and usually things that are making you a better person. Introverted activities, like I mentioned, reading, writing, hobbies, it's usually something that you dedicate time towards. It's like some sort of skill, some sort of artistic, creative endeavor. Introverts are usually more creative. So you're spending time on the things that actually matter to you, instead of in my opinion, a more extroverted person is always trying to look for that next social event, that next party. Those things are a waste of time for the most part. Now, obviously, there's nothing wrong with socializing, and I highly encourage it. I think you should socialize, but you don't want to make it the main point of your life. I don't remember ever in my life waking up and saying, who am I going to spend my day with? It's just, I don't care. Like, I wake up, I do the shit that I love. I do the shit that has to get done. I exercise, I create these videos, I go to work, focus on the things that are important to me. But again, just make sure there's a little bit of a balance there. You don't want to become some hermit and just always spending every minute completely by yourself. You want to be all right with getting out into the world, learning from people. You just want to find the right people. That's the thing with introverts, is we just need to find the right people for us. And it's not always easy because everybody else is more, all other introverts are also reclusive. So sometimes it's hard for us to meet. So you definitely want to challenge yourself a little bit. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You'd be pleasantly surprised. You'll meet a lot of people who are just like you, I promise. And definitely, if you do have hobbies and skills and things that you enjoy, I would definitely recommend finding a community. I mean, the internet is great for this. Find a community of other people that also enjoy that stuff. I think that could be really good. That's what I've done. I've done stuff in person and I've done stuff online, and it's great. I highly recommend it. You can always, especially if you do something online, it's a lot easier to get out of it if you're not interested in it. But definitely try to find some sort of community or group, other people you could talk to that share the same interests and passions with you. The last one I have is that you're typically more unique and creative. Introverts generally tend to have a more artistic, creative minds. They like to, like I said, they like to sit inside and do art and, draw, paint, that kind of stuff. They like to write. I'm pretty sure all of the great writers were also more introverted people. So you probably have a more creative aspect to your personality, and you need to embrace this, and you need to understand this is what makes you who you are. This is what makes you very unique. So don't be afraid to show it to the world. The only way you're going to get comfortable with all this is if you just get to the point where you don't care what anyone has to say about you. This is just who you are. Just embrace it. Embrace your clothing style, your hobbies, your interests, but do it in a way that's kind of cool, and people are going to see it as cool, like almost like you're setting an example, in a way that you're still following the norms of society, because you also don't want to be that person that's so strange and weird that nobody wants to be around them and you're just completely oblivious to the way that you're acting. I don't recommend this either. You want to do everything in a way that you want to have kind of put your own kind of unique style into everything. Whatever that is, wherever you go. Those are some thoughts on introversion that I wanted to do real quick. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your experience is. There's a lot of complexities that go into this. So I'm sure I haven't covered everything, but I'll definitely cover this topic in the future if you want me to. So let me know below what you think, and thank you as always for joining me.